Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Newcastle podcast. And as you can imagine, we'll be talking all things Alexander Isak in this episode. But first, my name is Michael Grameslow and today I am joined by Nicola Pringle Adams. I think I know the answer to this, Nick, but how's it going?
Stressed. Very, very stressed.
Yeah, something happened. I can't think of anything actually. I think it's just normal every day. But yeah, what pretty much is normal every day is new news about Alexander Isak. If anyone isn't aware yet, maybe you've lived under a rock, and it would have been nice to be living under a rock this morning when I heard that Alexander Isak has told Newcastle United that he wishes to explore his options, which in other terms is, hi, I'd like to leave now. Now, I'm not deluded enough to think this was never going to happen, but I expected it to happen next summer, to be honest. What do you think? Was it next summer, or do you have feelings it might have happened this soon?
I honestly, hand on heart, thought we would be having this discussion this time next year about Alexander Isak leaving. Like you say, not deluded enough to think that we're going to keep him forever, because that's just not how the game works. In some teams it does, but not in ours, clearly. And the fact that this time last week we were sat here discussing, we could have Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike up top. We're going to have the best front two in the league. We're going to be well, not the best front two, but we're going to have one of the best front two in the league. And now this week we're like, Liverpool have signed Ekitike, and now Isak wants to leave potentially. So
yeah, really I always wanted. Look, we wanted more minutes for William Masula. This is how we get it.
This is how we get it. Yeah. Callum Wilson's gone.
Isak's potentially going to be gone. Sesko, Wissa, let's just stick with William Masula. Why not? Of course, that was sarcasm for anyone that can't tell. But yeah, I thought we'd have another year of Alexander Isak at Newcastle. But I have to say, overall, it has been a pretty horrific transfer window for us so far when we had such high expectations. I do have to say the Anthony Elanga signing's fantastic. It's the only bright spark for us, unfortunately. But you have to be wondering what he's thinking right now, because when he signed, he literally said, who wouldn't want to play with Alexander Isak? And at club level, yeah, you might have got the chance, but not at Newcastle. You're going to have to follow him to Liverpool or PSG or wherever it is. So he must be a bit, well, certainly sad at the situation. But Nicola, if you were told 300k is enough to keep Alexander Isak at Newcastle, it would keep him for another 2 years before he decides to move on, when Newcastle's top earners Bruno on 160. Would you take it? Would you keep him for another 2 seasons on 300k, or would you still let him leave for around that 150 mark?
Look, torn in between this, because he's obviously one of our best players, if not the best player, and also is one of the most highly talked about strikers in the league, if not world. So obviously I want to keep him. So bearing in mind, if that means we have to, match what he wants of 300k a week, then yes, I would. However, my other part of this answer to this question is, if he wants to leave, then please just go, so we can cash in and we can spend that money ASAP to strengthen the squad, because we are now the 24th of July. We obviously kick off the league in less than a month. And other than the Anthony Elanga signing, there's nothing. There's nothing happening, and
whoa! We've just signed someone from the Korean second division. I'll have you know.
Other than that,
realistically, it feels like we've just gone right. We're going to go to Korea, right? We do need to sign someone for the for publicity.
Yeah,
let's spin the wheel. Right, we've got that name, and that name. We've put it together and we've found a player. I'm sure.
Also, this has all come out on the same day as obviously the Isak news. And admin posted like nothing was going on. Read the room. No, so so there's two answers to that part of the question, Michael. Sorry, I don't want to sell Isak whatsoever without at least a backup in place. By the way, But if he wants to go and he has expressed his interest to explore his options, whatever that means, then please, if he doesn't want to play for us, just go. I am going to be severely hurt if he doesn't want to play for us, but this is just how business and football goes, I'm afraid. Yeah, that's
I
my
think
answer
you've
to
got the
that.
nail on the head there. To be honest, it is just business, but the business side of it does tell you that we do need to act very, very quickly, and hopefully we're planning for just in case he does leave anyways. Benjamin Šeško was mentioned
Yeah, I can see that.
pretty much an hour after Isak was rumoured to be asking to leave. Johan Vissa's been up there as well. So those two, if we got both of them in, I generally think I'd be okay. But
Yeah,
there's an importance to move quickly because, as you say, there's 38 days left of
not
the
much.
transfer window, something
Yeah,
like that. It's really, really worrying, the fact that we still think we need 5 or 6 players. But I'll get onto that a bit later. As much as I do want Isak to stay as well, you can't change everything about the club to accommodate just
no,
one man, even though he is the best striker in the world, in my opinion.
yeah,
So it is a tough scenario for the Magpies right now. There won't be a single Newcastle fan who's happy today.
no, of course not. No, no.
But I'm actually going to go to an early advert from Bioniq, because I'm going to tailor this podcast to both crowds, the me's and the Kevs. So the really negative people and the really positive people. Who's who? Who knows? But we will hear all the negatives of the transfer. And then I'm going to finish up by trying to be incredibly positive. So much to the
You've got
point where
this.
Nicola's going to forget that your husband's going to be on a wind-up for the rest of the year. Yes, it's going to be that good. But for now, let's listen to Bioniq.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Right, Alexander Isak is probably off. Take it in, accept it, and we'll move on. However, the negatives here are that Newcastle do need 6 players, realistically. If Isak leaves, and as this pod goes out, as we mentioned, we've got 38 days to do that business. There's no chance in us doing 6 transfers in 38 days, is there, Nicola?
Can't even do 6 in 1 year, mate. Never mind 38 days.
It's a very good point. And I think the most we did in a single month was 5. That January, where everything changed, where we were literally in desperation mode for. We brought in Dan Burn, Kieran Trippier, Bruno Guimaraes, Chris Wood, Matt Targett on loan. But let's be honest, the way we've been moving this summer, do you have any confidence in our ability to sign players at that level, or at least at the level we're supposed to right now?
I've got to be honest, and this, obviously, I love Newcastle with my whole heart, but whatever is going on behind them scenes, my confidence is teetering on 0. I hate to be that fan, and I know people are going to be listening like, oh, trust the process. We've been trusting the process. We've been trusting the flipping process. Like, this is supposed to be the biggest summer of, Newcastle's new era.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, people. I mean, it's we've got Paul Mitchell left, and we've slow in replacing him, slow in replacing other people that left. We've got people in left, right, and it just makes you question what on earth is happening. I know, when
100%.
business changes, or it'll go, you do get, staff turnover, if you like, but there's a flipping
100%.
football club we're talking about. Come on.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I think it's one of those where you're looking at the back room and you're thinking they're dropping like flies.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was Darren Eales, there's Mitchell, Ashworth.
Yeah.
You're sitting there looking at it, and there's plenty of others as well, by the way. But you're sitting there looking at it and going, Eddie Howe's done a lot of good for this club, or football club, but why can nobody work with him? Because
And
it's starting to worry.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just say this: Eddie Howe I feel so sorry for him. And because inevitably, or not inevitably, if things don't go our way next season, so let's just say we start next season, we've made, Isak goes and we've not made any sort of ambitious signing, shall we say, say if that is the case, Eddie Howe is the first person that people are going to come for. And to be honest, at this point, I'm a bit like, well, he's not been supported again, other than one first team signing. So how can we? It's further than him. It's way up the chain, and it's quite concerning as to why, as a club, we can't seem to close deals quickly, or we get linked with players like I always mention it, Mark Gahey, Ekitike. We just can't seem to close it. And whether it's not these players don't want to come here, fine, I get that happens, but it seems to always be us, always, 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 and I don't get it. And my problem with this is if we were serious about the Ekitike deal, why not just offer the money?
Yeah, I get that.
There's obviously been some uncertainty, as we know, because Isak's always in the headlines about, Arsenal were convinced they were going to get him, then Liverpool convinced they were going to get him. If there has been that uncertainty there, why won't we, full steam ahead and get an Ekitike over the line? Okay, I know it's boiled down to the fact that he did want to go to Liverpool, fine, but still, you get where I'm going with that.
Yeah, 100%. I think it is one of those. It's been a constant of the transfer window so far. I do think there's a lot of players we've been linked with to sort of boost up the price. Cunha, I think, at the start of the window, I think he ended up going for the release clause. But it's one of those where we are always the team linked with a player in order to build up the price. Because let's be honest, if we were actually in for every single player we've been linked with, we'd have a squad bigger than Nottingham Forest and Chelsea combined.
Oh, mate, 100%.
That's impossible.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. I'm not naive into thinking that, but there is some instances where I'm like, come on, this is just, it seems to be we're always the laughing stock.
Yeah, no, I was going to finish that. There is always those like Brian and Buemo, Mark Gay, as you mentioned, Hugo Ekitike, who we are obviously that interested in because it's been there for a long time, and we are always linked with these players. Yep. And for them to end up going elsewhere, obviously we don't know where Gay is going yet, but it looks like Liverpool. For them to end up going elsewhere, clearly there's something in the process that we're just not doing very well. No. And as you say, maybe it is players don't really want to come to Newcastle. Maybe that is the fact that there's a Newcastle tax, Saudi money, etc. But realistically, we've kind of got to accept that we're not one of those elite clubs. We're not the Liverpools, the Man Cities, even the Arsenals, who managed to get the transfers over the line like that.
Not yet.
I think, hearing it out loud, it's the most Tim Pot thing I've ever said, but it is sad. It is sad. And I think the reason Isak's departure is going to hurt so much is the fact of there aren't many great strikers out there at the minute.
And that's what's concerning.
I've said this so many times on the pod the last few weeks of you compare the modern day to the 2000s, even the early 2010s. If you lost a striker of Isak's ability, you could look at 10 other clubs in the Premier League and go, we'll just have their striker. Yeah. Now, Johan Wissa, we're looking there and going, but I don't really like him enough to be number one. I'd love to have him as the backup because fantastic player for a backup. But to lead the line, it's not something that gets you excited. But yeah, what do you think? There's not really any good strikers out there at the moment who Newcastle could be
I mean, we've spoke about a few on here before as a collective group. Yeah. I mean, my problem, if Isak is going to go, then go. Please just go. I'm going to hold a grudge for a very long flipping time. That's just me because I love him, obviously, as every Newcastle fan does. If he's going to go. There is then only one option. We have to get Šeško over the line. That's probably the only one that I can really think of the top. I'm not opposed to actually Wissa. I think he will. I think he will embed in the Newcastle team fine. Not Isak fine, but I think he will eventually get the Eddie Howe effect and be fine. I'm not saying he's terrible because he's not. We've just been spoiled with Isak. No. We've just been really spoiled with Isak. And that, I imagine this is how, people felt years ago when, I don't know, I can't think of it.
Andy Cole.
Andy Cole left, yeah. Like, I imagine this is how they all felt. And it is just a part of the process. But Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do because we've just talked
It's
about
a
we can't
scary
seem to
time,
get
isn't it?
deals over the line. Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs to happen.
It's Yeah, it's one of those where one way I can potentially see the deal happening for Liverpool, because obviously they're going to have to sell Nunes and Diaz before they can actually before they can buy Isak, which
Yeah.
means there's time for the likes of PSG to swoop in, etc. In that time, little reminder: PSG have signed no one so far this transfer window, so there's probably cash there for a big signing. But what I can see happening on the Liverpool side is a cash and player deal. Now, you made it pretty early, pretty obvious earlier in the group chat you weren't fancying a bit of Darwin Nunes. But if Isak does wish to go to Liverpool, I could see them offering maybe 70, 80 million plus. Well, Ian said plus Elliott and Nunes. I could probably see it being 120 million plus Nunes. But what do you think about that?
The 150 million, no lower. If you're going to
No
go,
players on top of that?
no,
Because 120 plus Nunes is technically about 160, 170. But
by the way, when I
it's
said
a
earlier in the
difficult
group
one.
chat about Nunes,
It's a
I'm going to
personal thing. You just
it's a
don't like
personal.
him. That's fine.
Yeah, and like I said,
I get it.
I don't think he's losing sleep over Nicola Pringle-Adams not really liking him. I think my problem with the fact is, and
I
this is
mean,
just a
I
little
do.
bit. I think this is just a little bit of context for the listeners. Can you imagine my I'll never hear peace again. I'll never feel peace again at my personal life, at my home life, if Liverpool they've managed to snag Ekitike off Newcastle, whether we're in it or not, don't care.
Yeah.
And then they managed to take Isak off us, but offer us Darwin Nunes as a little, oh, it's okay though, here you go. My husband will have a field
Uh,
day with this.
yeah, it's true. It's true. I could
So,
imagine it, but
okay,
what I will
can we
say
see
is
Darwin Nunes playing for Newcastle?
I genuinely could, because I
Yeah,
think
you and
he'll
Kev
be
have
another
said
one
that.
of those Anthony Gordon figures
Yeah.
where beforehand we all hate him. He comes to the club and actually performs all right, because we are a fast-paced counter-attacking team where he's not going to have too much time to think on the ball. It's going to be pretty instant, which is where he's at his best. But I also sit and look at the 7,000 chances he misses a season and think, yeah, I'm not really fond of that. So either way, it's not great news for us. But before we go into part 3, where we go through all the positives and finish that way, I've got something I feel relatively neutral about. And I mentioned it last night when Ian was talking about potential topics. Basically, Ross Wilson is potentially going to come into the club as a sporting director from Nottingham Forest. For those that aren't aware, he was at Rangers when they had the Europa League campaign. But their fans were over the moon when he left. Something I saw last night, and I was like,
Oh God.
that's not great. But he's also at Forest at the minute, and Lord knows their last season, their transfer window was incredible. They brought in Elliot Anderson for pretty much 15 million when you take off Odysseys from some stupid club that agreed to that. Plus Nikola Milenkovic, who's one of the best centre backs in the league for me this season. So if he can work with Eddie Howe, we can finally get a combination that works together in unison. I imagine that'll be fantastic for us. But is it someone that you'd heard of before? Because I'll be honest, I had no
Nope.
idea he existed until it came up.
No, I don't too. I think you put it in the chat today or yesterday, and I was like, who is that?
Last night, yeah.
So yeah, no, that's no
No,
surprise. I don't know a lot.
I'd heard of Mitchell. To be fair, I pride myself on knowing a lot, and I had no idea who he was. Yes, I am a bit of an arrogant and a bit of a belle, but that's my personality. No, it's
Well,
I'm not. It's just a joke, and I don't pride myself on knowing a lot. I just yeah. But speaking of things that work excellent in
Statman.
unison, yeah, we'll call it that. I do research to hide the fact I know nothing.
Yeah.
But things that work well, like Michael in research, us two on a pod, and hopefully Wilson and Howe, is Zencastr in this podcast. So we've got a message from Zencastr, and it'll be delivered by Nicola.
Perfect. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it is super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you are ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. Most positive I've been all day.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you very much, Nicola. Now we're going to go into the positives of Alexander Isak potentially departing Newcastle United. And I know what everyone's thinking. There is no positives. This is going to end in 5 minutes. But I am here to change your minds. It is difficult to say that the transfer would be too good for us to turn down because losing the best striker in the world is never a good thing.
Nope.
But 150 million, Nicola. That's a fee. That'd be the third highest transfer fee in history. It's too much to turn down, surely.
What could we do with that? What would that be? Like £86 million profit or something? No, a bit more than that.
It'd be more because he's had 3 years of his contract. So I believe his contract's split up by the 6 years. So it's effectively 11 million a year or something like that. So it would be 115 million profit. If you take that into consideration. Without that, it is around what you said.
All right, okay. Well, that is a positive. Think of what we could get with that.
Exactly. We need
Think
6
of
signings.
what we could get with that. We could probably get 3 out of that, if not 4.
Yeah, that's even if you're buying world class players.
Yeah.
You could do a lot with 150 million. Particularly, we've heard that we had a 120 available last week when Ekitike was potentially going to sign. That was going to be on 70. Of that was going to be there. We've said we need 6 signings. It was 5 before Isak was going to leave. Trying to sign 5 players with 120 million is quite a daunting task in the modern day of football.
Yep.
But it's much harder than getting 6 with 270. Because 6 with 270, you're sitting there and going, who can't I buy? I mean, clearly João Pedro, Liam Delap,
Ekitike, Mark Gahey.
But August, the options are endless with that. And I think, would you be happy if we sold Isak, but broadened our horizons to sign 4 or 5 great players at the expense of, that world-class one?
If we sold Isak and spent that money, I mean, it has to be the right fit, obviously. I'm not saying we just go out and panic buy, because that's obviously never the case, and never a good thing to do. But if we sold Isak, and if he's unhappy, whatever it is, to be honest, just to clarify, I'm actually not surprised he's a little bit unsettled this transfer window as well because of all the speculation around him. So I'm kind of not surprised about that, to be fair. That hasn't helped him at all. If he's unhappy, then go. Let's get the money. Cash in on him. Cash in on him now while his value is as high as it is, because if we keep him and next season, I mean, God forbid if he does stay and this doesn't happen, but if we keep him and next season he has an absolute horror show, then we are going to be sat here this time next year and being like, oh God, now he's only worth like 40 million, I don't know, whatever. Let's sell him now.
I get where you come from.
Sell him for his top value, get that money in the bank or whatever, and then let's just go out, broaden our horizons, and get the players in the positions that we so desperately we need. No one would be mad at that. No, not one Newcastle fan. Yes, we'll be mad that Isak's gone, and we'll be thinking, oh, he scored the winning goal at Wembley against Liverpool, and now he plays for them. Like, oh, blah blah blah. We're all going to be upset about that. We're all going to be bitter about it, and it's going to be horrible to see him in a Liverpool kit. But if we spend that money, invest it wisely, we've seen other teams do it. We've seen other teams sell their big players, invest the team, and make the team better. Yeah. I always think of Aston Villa. Aston Villa is a great example. Yes, okay, Grealish, they did fall off a little bit, but when they sold Jack Grealish, that would have been so upsetting for all the Aston Villa fans, and even I felt sorry for them, like a homegrown player as well. By the way, they cashed in on him as top value at that time, which was like a world record or whatever it was. Yes, he's gone to Man City, but they invested that money really well, and now look at them. Yeah. They're now, well, last year they played in the Champions League, Europa League, Champions League, whatever they were in. Champions League, So they invested that well. We can do that. We just need a team of people behind the scenes to act quick. So that's 100%. My opinion on that. Did I answer that question? Sorry.
No, it does 100%. It is one of those where realistically, when you sell a big player, you realistically are either going to follow the path of Liverpool, Aston Villa, or Tottenham. Who, if people remember when Spurs sold Bale, should I say?
Yep.
They ended up bringing in the likes of Roberto Soldado, Eric Lamela, Paulinho, players that just didn't really work. Nasser Chadli, I believe, was that window as well. And so there is the possibility that you do bring in absolute dross, but we have a great record with big transfers. Of our top 10, the worst signing's been Harvey Barnes, who's got 14 goals and 7 assists for us in 2 years.
Yeah.
If that's the worst out of the top 10 signings,
We'll have it.
give them give our transfer team every penny under the planet to sign new players. So I'm very confident that if we do get that money, we will be able to sign good players, maybe great players, but it's just a case of actually getting them over the line. Are you confident that with that money, the signings that would come in would be arguably just as good and, raise the level of the team?
I don't, yes, but also I don't think there's any room for it not to be. It has to be. It actually has to be. You cannot lose Alexander Isak from your first team and bring in... Yeah, that's the word you use. You can't bring on the same caliber. You can't bring people that aren't on the same caliber as that. It has to be first team. It has got to be. You can't do it. I think Kev said earlier, if we're going to cash him in, perfectly fine. Let's do it. We're definitely going to need a striker, probably another midfielder, centre half maybe, and definitely another keeper. Invest that money. That they are 4 positions there. Obviously, we need a striker now, but they are 4 positions there that will improve the team miraculously. But it has to be on the same caliber as what we've got already. Let's not forget the team we have already. It has to be on the same caliber as that. And obviously, if we lose Alexander Isak, it has to be on his level as well. Don't forget, these players have played together for a while now. They all play really well. Can't bring in people that are going to, upset that rhythm a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's important to remember, we, as a midfield 3, we do. I think everyone who's a Newcastle fan honestly believes we've got one of the best 2-3 midfields in the Premier League. Maybe with the signing of Zubimendi and for Arsenal, Reinders for Man City.
Yep.
Maybe that changes a little bit, but we're still up there with the best. We've got Lewis Hall and Tio Livramento, great fullbacks, very young. Alanga and Gordon is going to be incredibly exciting. You just need a couple of players, and that's cemented as a top 4 squad for the next 10, 15 years. Not
Agreed.
10, 15 years, 5 years, let's say.
Yeah.
I'm being a bit overzealous, but I'm trying to be positive.
Got to be positive.
Exactly. So, it's one of those where I've got a good feeling we'd follow the route of Liverpool and Aston Villa after selling a big name rather than more of a Tottenham. But Tottenham did make a Champions League final after that, so can't really call it a failure.
Can't complain.
But, no, I'd love a Champions League final, to be honest. But just before we do finish, I don't know if you've got anything else you want to add on Alexander Isak.
Just please don't go. Like he's listened to this podcast every day of his life. No, I think
what's the personal message?
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. Look, today has been enough for any Newcastle fan to have a headache for the rest of the week. Please roll on the 2nd or 1st of September, whatever it is, so we can be done with this.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Get him over the line. If he doesn't want to be here, go. Fine.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. And just to sort of give the full view of, from my perspective, it's like, if Alexander Isak leaves, he will be a Newcastle United legend. He is the best striker in the world right now, and he scored the goals to get us 2 Champions League qualifications and our first trophy since, 1969? 68? Off the top of my head, can't remember. But unfortunately, there's levels to football right now, and we aren't that elite club. We all know deep down, but Newcastle will be fine. We'll 100% be fine.
We've been in worse
the money
situations.
that we've gotten. Exactly. Every big signing we've made has been a positive one. No one wants to sell, but as a squad, I'm certain we'll be better this time next season than what we are now. That's all for us on the Daily Newcastle pod today. Who knows what will happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks, but whatever happens, we've endured John Carver, Steve McLaren, Joe Kinnear, Big Sam Allardyce, Steve Bruce, and Big Fat Mike Ashley. If Isak leaves, this is a breeze. Have a nice weekend, everyone. And just remember to smile. It's not the end of the world.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.